We have new faces in old places. See who jumps on the merry-go-round this week on the Indie Ball Report podcast. And the highway was filled with broken heroes on the Last Chance Power Drive. That's why we come to you now, episode 297.
Imagine, is that how we're doing that?
Imagine if I leave it like that. Wouldn't that be wild?
Don't hate it.
So how are you doing on this fine, I guess, Thursday morning, technically?
I don't know what to say. So I'm going to cough and die.
We appreciate
quick on the mute on this one.
We appreciate you for your sacrifice. So we got stuff this week. And you know what I'm leading with? We got stuff. That means we have 3 moderately important news stories and then a 16-team review. That's how great we're doing this week.
And we're starting recording at 12:30 a.m., so it's going to be a banger.
So yes, we have a couple of, I suppose, operational moves have occurred and a All-Star game because it's All-Star game season apparently, and then we have a Frontier League review. We're going to try to get through those first 3 things quickly because there are 16 teams we got to get to, and even if we only spend 5 minutes on each of them, or even if we only spend like 3 minutes on each of them, it's going to be a long time to get through it. So
yeah, we'll be dead long before this comes to a satisfying conclusion.
Yes.
That's what she said.
No, she doesn't get satisfied. Any event.
What a fun, interesting direction for this podcast to go in.
Remember, our descent into a rated X show continues. You can follow us on X at Glacier has a new manager. They have announced they've hired Todd Pratt as their manager in 2025. The Met legend replaces Paul Fletcher at the helm.
I'll end your life. I will end your life.
Who did Todd Pratt hit a walk-off shot for in the 1999?
No one remembers things happened to the Mets, idiot.
And they don't remember what happens to the Phillies either because they're in a medically induced coma.
What are you talking
being
about?
Assaulted in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah, because Mets fans are not known for having an issue.
Yeah, it's called depression and alcohol abuse.
He played 1,000. He played 299 games for the Phillies. Over 1,000 ABs. Or over 1,000 plate appearances.
He played over 200 games with the Phillies.
I think Chris Coase can agree. He's a Phillies backup catcher.
Chris Coase is busy in Mexico right now. Settle down with your hamster water.
I'm so close to coughing directly into the mic and just causing so much editing to happen.
Don't make me pull out the WNBA takes.
He went to the Phillies, went to New York, and came back to Philly because he knew it was good for him.
You mean he at that point had no other options but to return to the worst city in America?
Can we discuss the fact that he went from the Mets to the Phillies? Where are his transactions?
Whilst you make this thing relevant still, I will say, played 14 years in the majors. He also coached in the Marlins organization at the single A level. So no experience really in indie ball, limited experience coaching wise, but he was a major leaguer. So there is that for Todd Pratt. It continues the long-standing tradition in the Pioneer League of ditching your manager after 1 or 2 years.
Great deadline move in 2001 from the Mets to the Phillies. Right before 9/11, what did he know?
What did he know?
That's what I was digging for over here. I am the dumbest person in the world.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Which we're just going to wrap this up with. Yeah, he played like 23 fewer games with the Mets than with the Phillies, but in 3 fewer years, and he had a better slash line. So,
yeah, I know, because he spent 8 years in Philly. It's a beautiful place to stay.
Yeah, after
because everyone knows nothing is beautiful like Philly in the 90s.
Yeah, don't step over there. You could get a needle in your foot.
That's Kensington. That's practically a different city.
Don't pawn that shit off on Camden.
Oh, dude, come on. It's basically Camden.
So Todd Pratt, what are your thoughts on Todd Pratt?
I mean, it's a good pickup. I think Glacier is a mess, but you know.
But what about the rest of their staff?
Stu Peterson's back. I mean, you know who I'm curious about, but there's no news there. I don't care. I mean, what else is there to say? Like, I'm sorry. Like, Glacier. I mean, I guess they're relevant. They made the playoffs this year, but like
the finals this year
was crazy. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, like, it's a Pioneer League manager hire. A dude with not any experience here. I don't have high expectations for this.
First of all, good for Todd.
Good for Todd.
I want good things for this Range Riders club. I do hear concerning things about how it's run, but cool facility. He should be able to recruit. Hopefully, he has some good connections. I mean, the obvious concern being, the lack of indie ball experience, but we've beat that to death just last week, so I'm not going to overly go into it.
I agree entirely with the experience thing. The problem, of course, with the Pioneer League is like half of it is being a good manager. There's no doubt about that. There's a reason why Missoula, at least in the regular season, is consistently a threat and a problem. But the other half of it is just getting lucky that you're finding the right recent college grads.
Yeah, essentially.
Because, I mean, most of these guys don't have track records, at least in pro ball.
Yeah. I'm just remembering the fact that I'm going to have to do Pioneer League projections again, and I'm going to just spiral into insanity, but it's fine.
Math is your father.
I'm in pain all the time. It is, I mean, it's not random. I mean, it makes it sound like it's a lottery pick at that point, but.
I mean, it kind of is it not?
I mean, the same teams are good. It makes it think it's not just luck of the draw.
I mean, that tells you it's less luck of the draw, more organizational stability, but I mean, that still comes down to though, like.
That's fair. And being able to keep the good ones you find.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like half of it's manager and org, the other half's getting lucky. Because, I mean, you still do have the fluctuation. Like a Glacier this year, NOCO to a lesser extent this year. You want to go back through the past few years, I'm sure you're going to find one or two outliers each time through. So, but.
Good episode, man. I think we killed this one. That's a wrap.
So Rocky Mountain was the surprise team last year, and Grand Junction the year prior. I guess you could call Billings a little bit more consistent. They did make the playoffs 2 or 3 years out of, not just 2 years, out of the 4 in independent ball. Year 1, Idaho Falls. So each year, there really is kind of that one surprise outlier. And, yeah, that's kind of where my theory comes into.
What do you think? What do you think? Do you think it's more likely Glacier completely falls off, or do they think they run back with a competitive team this year?
You're going to hate me for this, but I think they're going to be pretty mediocre. I don't think they're going to completely fall apart and put up like a disaster class season.
Like an Ogden run.
I could kind of see it. I see much more in line with kind of like Billings from this past year.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of that thing where it's like it's not
that
bad, but like it's also not what you're looking for.
That's not what you want.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's a pretty accurate description of Billings this past year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's just below 500 ball. I mean, with an inexperienced manager, I don't know who's coming back, how much you're going to keep, what's going to graduate. I'd have to look deeper at the roster from this past year and compare it to roster rules and everything to really say it. But I mean, like, when
I really have to look at the data there.
I gotta look at the numbers like
Thanks,
a fancy boy.
Like a fancy boy. I hate it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, let's just say it like this. Andy Atwood's 27, Gabe Howe's 26. How long are they kicking around for here?
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, Montana Quigley's 26.
It feels like once you have something going in that league, you're like out, and you're like, "Oh, all right."
Exactly. You're just a feeder league at a certain point.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will
You
say a
describe them
lot
that
of the
way.
pitching.
I intentionally don't describe them that way, but you're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I get.
Maybe they like that. By the way, I don't know. I feel like they don't necessarily like being described that way, but I don't know.
I think the boots on the ground probably don't like calling it that, but I think the people higher up kind of are like, yeah,
kind of the facts of the matter on that.
yeah, it's just like this is the facts of life. But I mean, I will say there are some younger guys here that could be solid pieces, and I'm curious to see how many stick around. If we have nothing else on Glacier, we could go over to Quebec.
No, I don't have anything else on Glacier at this point. It's a little too early to tell any of that.
Yeah, right. Quebec, they have a new president. Charles Demers will take over as the new president of the team. He's been promoted from general manager and vice president, a position he's held for the past 5 years. He's also been with the organization for the past 10. He replaces Michel Laplante, who left the org a few weeks back. Demers also cut his teeth as a marketer, so that may be of interest. Any particular thoughts? I can't imagine we'll have too many, but
it feels like just sort of the natural handoff, right? It probably gives them the best chance to continue the success they seem to be having. So, it's basically all I got. I know it's not really groundbreaking, but it's sort of like it seems like everybody kind of expected this to be the move, and it agrees it's a good call.
Yeah, it kind of like the hand-picked successor route. It's a guy that knows the org, knows the area, has experience doing a similar position in the organization. See if he keeps up the same success they've had for the past 25 years.
Yeah, younger guy.
Yeah, which I mean, that's probably a positive too. That's something we always campaign for.
Yeah, until this goes terribly wrong, in which case we did not say that.
In which case, and they're not all winners.
No, I mean, I've gone to school. A lot of these people my age, they are morons. So I don't know. Could go either way. Bit of a toss up there, boys.
Like, I mean, like I wouldn't have done that, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, somebody should, not me though. I'm not gonna do it.
Exactly. I should also mention from this point on, it's just Frontier League this week. So if you do not like the Frontier League, make sure you download this episode to boost their numbers.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry, that.
Boost the numbers first, and then you're free to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I have anything else, no, I don't think I do.
Okay, good. That was quick.
Go team.
We're doing great. All-Star game. Frontier League goes to Tri-City. They're going to host the 2025 All-Star game. The All-Star weekend this year is July 14 through 17. Game is on the 16th. And the home run derby will be immediately before the game. More details to come.
It's a good call. Don't try to do a whole skills competition night.
Yeah, see, I like the skills competition. In the past, I've really heavily advocated for it, but it does appear, especially in recent years, it doesn't draw and doesn't really help the guys all that much. So that's going to be the case. It's probably for the best that it goes the way of the dodo.
That's fine. I mean, I like they're still doing it, sort of, but like, you know, as almost like included with the event, not trying to sell tickets to two separate things. That's a tough sell.
Yeah, that's one thing I do like. Having the home run derby there is a nice little bonus. I'm not sure I would have done it before the game. I may have done it after the game to incentivize people to stay a little bit longer. I think if you know there's going to be a home run derby at the end.
Yeah, maybe. Depends on what the energy is. I could also see people just not sticking around.
I get that.
Do famously love the long ball.
That is true, but that's the thing. I always am a believer in you bet on yourself to put on a good product, to put on a quality product. And if that's the case, then hey, you run with it and you see what you can't make happen.
All right. Yeah, I mean, make me sound like the one who lacks confidence. That's fine. I do agree with the philosophy, but I also tend to I mean, I'm partial to like if you have 8 guys doing it, or if even it's 4 guys doing the home run derby. Here's a concept. It's an all-star game. After the first inning, have the first guy then go. Second inning, have the second guy go. After the third inning, have the third guy go. After the fourth, have the next guy go. And then have the final round, like fifth and sixth inning. Do between innings. You just got to roll out an L screen real quick. And you can keep it next to the dugouts in All-Star game. It'll be fine.
I don't hate it.
That's all I've ever wanted, is for you to not hate the things I say. And yet, here we are.
I mean, just because I hate the person saying them doesn't mean I hate the things that he's saying.
I appreciate that.
But
thank you. That's what I've been going for.
But yeah, I kind of like that idea.
Ah.
I kind of like it. I just wonder if it messes with the flow of the game too much, but also it's an all-star game, so like I don't really care. Yeah,
and they're bringing in so many new pitchers. This gives a couple guys like a few more, and you have to do it like 10 swings, maybe. But then again, there's also the problematic ones where dudes aren't hitting bombs in like some of these lower level home run derbies. So that's also like, don't love it.
That's the thing. I do think though you had to have members of the coaching staff throw though. I don't think I want a pitcher.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Outside of the home run derby, do you have any other thoughts on the All-Star game in Tri-City?
It always goes to my theory that the league really wants to make Tri-City happy, and Tri-City's like not. It always feels like they're trying to keep Tri-City happy, like around. I don't know. That's probably not what this is, but it does make me laugh.
It does feel like Tri-City does make a lot of sense from a political reason in the league to get this, though. That being said, they do seem like a well-ran organization. They did win Hotel of the Year, so maybe that's the real reason they got this. And I do think they will put on a good product. I trust that they'll actually be able to sell tickets. And they're coming off of Quebec, and Quebec had a good time with the All-Star game, so maybe we keep it in the East for a little while. Huh? Maybe.
I had one more thing.
Okay.
The Trois-Rivières story. It missed me, and then you sent it to me in the notes.
Yes.
And it's very weird.
That's why I sent it to you.
Trois-Rivières is so weird, and I love them. I've been over this. My love for that organization is undeserved, first of all.
But their logo looks like a pigeon, which is your family crest.
Insurmountable. So. Can I just read this? Is this a press release? Technically, it's just an article, right?
It's on their website, so go for it. Switching gears to Three Rivers. I wasn't expecting it, but go for it.
What is... It's just so bizarre. Okay. President Rene Martin and General Manager Jerome Deschanel met with the region's media today to take stock. The region's media today to take stock of Trois-Rivières' last campaign. So I don't know. I guess met with the local press to take. This is through Google Translate to take stock of the last season.
Yeah,
yeah. By mutual agreement, the Eagles and manager Matthew Rush have decided not to renew their association.
Not to renew the contract.
Quote, despite the challenges we have experienced on the spring level in the last 3 years, there's no doubt that Matt has had our team at heart, as stated by the president. The former star gunner of the Birds, therefore ends his time behind the Eagles bench with a record of 126 wins, 157 losses. The organization is, however, looking at options to keep him in the team's entourage, which I got to assume is the office. A process will be set in motion very soon in order to find a successor who will be responsible for building the future edition of the Eagles. In a more positive way, the general director highlighted several good moves from an administrative point of view. The new show concept was a success with 3 exceptional evenings featuring David Jalbert. I think they just go into like a marketing update.
Yes. They do that every once in a while.
That is wild. Like, first of all, this is a wild way to part with a manager of 3 seasons.
That has a history in your organization.
And to spin it into like a marketing push, which is weird. A marketing recap. Weird. Secondly, I'm available for the manager gig. I do not speak French, and I will not. And you can deal with that. Other than that, it's just such a strange thing. Did anything else stand out to you in this one? Because it's wild.
Here's the thing: if it wasn't Quebec, there'd be like a lot that's weird about this. But it is Quebec, or not Quebec? Yeah, Three Rivers. Three Rivers does this thing kind of frequently, where they'll just give random economic updates via their team site.
Was this September 4? When did this happen?
It was right after the season ended.
Jesus Christ. It just flew under the radar, too.
Like
What's
an eagle.
happening?
It's just how they work, dude. They're very odd about this. They'll just kind of like low-key drop something and run.
Also, I don't think Alba Ladeo is going to be the move, by the way. We'll deal with that later, but we free pass them on that. Makes zero sense.
Would you care to explain?
It's a crackhead decision. Like, what experience is homie bringing?
Empire League experience.
It's just so mind-numbing to me sometimes. And just like to watch an organization seemingly so determined to poop in their own hands,
but
and then try to make art with it. It's crazy.
But Ryan, you don't understand. Or some other associate coach.
No, let's ignore the fact. Let's ignore everything Quebec has done, because obviously they're not successful on and off the field. Let's bring in two Puerto Rican dudes. That'll connect. Like, guys, I want you to do well, but this is stupid.
Like Ryan, you're giving some Tony Hinchcliffe vibes right now.
This needs to be a come to Jesus moment for y'all. Like, what are you doing? Legitimately, what are you doing?
Living their best life.
This is your big idea to get a bunch of like Puerto Rican talent in, which I mean, maybe that's kind of a concept, but like maybe, just maybe, you find some more local representation who can mine the local area for talent in much the same way as some other teams have done, namely Quebec, which I'm sure they hate to hear. And maybe, just maybe, don't just keep randomly trying to plug and play without doing any of the work. It's so weird. Anyway.
Oh, no. They do the work.
As I've said, that is shamelessly an organization I'm loyal about. Like, I'm mad because I want them to do well.
Here's the thing. Like, I do think they try. I just don't think they do well with it. And I think
I think they do try, and that's almost more annoying. Because if you're doing whatever it is that New England's doing, I'm like, well, yeah, of course, because that's built to fail. But like, if you're Trois-Rivières, like, what? This is it. You're trying your best. Like, and that's not good enough, friends. Like, this is not good enough at all. Like, from either end of this manager situation. I'm sorry. I know I'm probably burning some bridges over there right now, but whatever. I'm sure the turnover will be quick and there'll be new bridges. So it's just, what are we doing?
I really do think a lot of it's budgetary. I don't think they have the budget to do things correctly, so they kind of do it on the cheap.
I mean, sure. Which begs the question, how many teams of the Frontier League are currently doing that?
More than we're probably comfortable admitting.
The last point I'll make to follow that up, my best guess on that question is Trois-Rivières, New England, New Jersey, Sussex, Windy City.
Windy City, definitely.
And then probably one or two others in the West. I don't know what some of their situations are as well, because I'm less in the weeds with them, but we got to figure minimum 5, probably closer to 7. So half the league. Well, I'm sorry, half the league. And then let's be honest, we don't know what Kinston or Mississippi are going to look like. So
down east, please.
Yeah, whatever. It's still Kinston to me. It's still real to me.
You'll probably call them the Indians still.
Dude, I remember watching the Kinston Indians a lot.
I've never seen them in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, man, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Should we start this recap?
Yes, let's get busy with this recap, Frontier League recap. Let's see if we can get this done before 2:15 in the morning. Is that optimistic?
Yes, but we'll make it happen.
All right, we're going to start in the west and work our way east. It's alphabetical again, and that means Evansville, you're up first. 41-55 last year, 6th in the west, 11th in the league. Immediate vibe check. Disappointing year. I think they were hoping for a little bit more, although they did start to rally towards the end of it. It feels like a rebuilding year. I would say just kind of trust the process. I have confidence in the people at the helm of it. And just going off of memory, I think there are 2 or 3 pieces there that are good pieces.
I hate to do this. My audio cut right as you said what team you were talking about, and then I could not pick up any context clues the entire time. I was sitting here like, he'll say a name.
So what do you think about this team, Ryan? It's a Western team.
Western.
They didn't make the playoffs, but they had some good success in the recent past.
Never. Sean Evansville?
You got it.
I did it.
Good job. Gold star.
Evansville. I mean, David Mendham was a standout star for sure. I don't really know, Parks, Mattis, and Phillips kind of had years, but they didn't play full seasons. So if you're looking for a full season guy, you got to go all the way down to like Randy Bednar, who was like a 260 hitter. Evansville just didn't really bring it offensively, and that's kind of how that goes. I mean, where were they? Runs per game, yeah, bottom half of the league. That makes sense. And then on the pitching side, I didn't have any of them in like my top 10% of pitchers, which is a tough scene. But I guess you could give some love to like, oh God. By the way, they only used 20 pitchers all season, which is kind of crazy. But Griff Hughes had a good year coming out of the bullpen. But other than that, they used to have like a lot of guys who really flamed out pretty aggressively. Like every time, it felt like every time they tried to fill the rotation, it was just not the scene you want. Like,
I mean, they had 3 real starters here.
Scott Smith, Gatto covered, and then like they went to like Brahms, and he had some good moments.
He was better last year when he got picked up the Reds.
It was not the same. And then, I mean, like they tried with like Yohan Castillo and Terrence Marin, like that didn't work. They tried with like a couple spot starters other than that, and just didn't really, nothing. They couldn't find anything. So they basically run in like 3 to 4 starters all year. And it was just not the move. That's not how you win games, according to my research.
I will give both Zach Smith and Braden Scott credit. Glorious job in eating innings, boys. Great job.
Dogs,
and Zach Smith especially,
sure.
I mean, kept the ERA low despite pitching over 113. So
yeah. I was
that
Parker,
whip, on the other hand.
That was wrong of me to say like 3, maybe 4 stars. Parker Brahms did have a what I call a good year for a 4-starter in the Frontier League. However, they weren't looking for him to be a 4-starter, and that's the problem.
Yeah. He's supposed to be a 1 or 2.
Yep, and that's not how you build success, and that is how you end up giving up the 5th most runs, 6th most runs in the league, while also only scoring the 6th least runs in the league. Not a recipe for success, my friends. Though they did pick it up as the year went on a little bit. So, hey.
Yeah. And like I said, it is a bit of a rebuilding year. If you look at it, a lot of the guys are in the 25 to like 24, 25, 26 range. Batting wise, admittedly a little older, a lot of 27-year-olds. So that's going to be something you got to look at. But pitching wise, I mean, Scott's only 26, Smith is 25, Brahms is still 26. I'm not sure who else you really want to continue to go to here, but even still, you keep 3 of your starters there going forward here. I think you mentioned Griff Hughes, 22-year-old doing that. Solid. Definitely something to build on.
Yeah.
Just a decent amount of guys in the bullpen here that are, 22, 25 that, you can work with that.
And this was also like Parker Brahms, like first. I mean, This is the most things he's thrown since like 2018 in college. Like, so I would somewhat expect a bounce back season this year, hopefully, or it could also go the other way, by the way. But I'd hope to see him build up a little bit better and be able to deliver. Yeah.
All right, moving on, we'll go to Florence next, a team that was 44-51, fifth in the West, tied for ninth in the league here. Again, immediate vibe check. They had that little bit of a fool's gold run in July, August. So that was certainly something there. The vibes off the field feel immaculate. As an organization, they know how to market. They know how to get people interested, and they seem to do well attendance-wise. That being said, it does feel like we're reaching a decision point here on roads. Like what are we going to do here at a certain point?
So confused because this, you think about what, and I understand there's some weird dynamics with the ballpark too, but like,
you gotta factor that in though.
It is okay. Yes, I agree. However, you're so ready when you have a pitching coach and a pitcher become a manager to have a guy who just can't figure out the hitting side of the ball, but the pitching side, and to have the most runs scored and the most runs allowed is like, or almost the most runs allowed is crazy. And I understand the ballpark, sure, but still, that's even like park adjusted. It's still like, oh God.
It's still like a lot of runs.
Yeah, dude. Like you can't necessarily have that going on. I mean, it still puts them in the bottom quarter of the league. Top quarter of the league and bottom quarter of the league. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's crazy.
The one thing I would say is if you look at all the guys that threw 25 or more innings, working our way from fewest to most, 26, 22, 25, 22, 28, 26, 26, 26, 26, 23, 24. So there are some younger guys in there. If you look underneath it, you're going to see a lot of guys that are more like 22 to 24. So you're dealing with younger pitchers. And so that could be part of it. I mean, Reed Smith had the second most innings thrown at 72 of them, and he's 23. So, I think that could be part of it. Just a pitcher that isn't, used to professional hitting, hasn't been doing it for that long. That could be part of it. And on one hand, I don't necessarily hate it if you want to go a little bit younger, see what you have, see what you can use, see what you can build on. Especially if it's a year where you're like, hey, we are definitely like at best the fourth best team in this division. So let's see what we can go for. I don't hate that decision, especially when the batting seems to be largely figured out. Like looking at this team, it was a fairly younger team, it appears at least. And like your key contributors were pretty much all 24 or 25. And I think that sets them up well for next year. And there was improvement here. And I think that you could see Florence maybe stretch that fool's gold run out. It's just, I need Rhodey to kind of prove to me that it was more than just like the hot streak you're going to get every year, right? Like I need him to be like, okay, can we piece together a good month? Can you piece together a good 6 weeks? Something like that.
Steven Hrustish was a good grab in the outfield. Played well. He's only 22. Came out of Michigan.
Nice.
Hank Eisler hit well. He was one of my preferred hitters across the league. Other than that, they scored a lot of runs, but Richardson, Reeves, and Johnson had good seasons. But that's about what I got on the offensive side. Pitching side, man, I don't have any like regular pitchers in the top half of pitchers in the league this year. So that's how that went. And that's all park adjusted. Like, don't be like, well, tough ballpark. No, I'm taking that into account. Ferrer, Fernandez, and Campbell all pitched great, but they pitched a combined 36 appearances out of the pen. It's not really what we're looking for.
I'm not going to argue about anything on pitching wise. I mean, we're good.
My thing that stands out to me is just how many. I mean, whoa, God, how much? 31 minus 12. So what's that? 19 different pitchers came in and made less than 10 appearances. That is searching for answers that aren't there. They had 16 different starters over the course of the season. It's searching for answers, and like the guys who are calling in aren't making it happen. And that's where I worry about Chad a little bit. Because he's been there for a while now. Like you got to be able to dig in and find guys who can answer the bell consistently for, more than a couple outings that are a mixed bag, results wise.
I will say one name you did miss on the batting side. He didn't play that many games, only 28, but Dalton Davis had a low-key solid 28-game stretch.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because you know what he did, Ryan?
400 on base.
Okay.
And almost a 500 clip over 104 plate appearances. Kind of crazy. He slipped just under, I think, my minimum number of plate appearances. But man, that was. Let's see. Hold on. Let me double check something with Dalton.
Yep.
I mean, I guess he's still rostered, so that's something to look forward to for next year.
Yeah, only 24. Just turned 24.
College. So, hey, man, Chad made some good additions coming with the college talent this year, so that looks good. I'll take that as a win.
Yeah, they're a team to watch, I think, going into next year.
Yeah, man. I do think they're very likely to improve. And also, it's interesting to see somebody coming from Conference USA in the draft league and then doing really well in Florence for the Frontier. So interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, definitely rubber hits the road type year, though.
Oh, yeah. They got to make something happen. They got to at least challenge for a spot.
Gateway up next, 59 and 36, second in the West, third in the league. A great season, but disappointing all the same. Early eggs in the postseason to a team that, quite frankly, you should have dominated on paper. I do believe Steve Brook is the guy. He's gotten results back-to-back years now, really making something work in Gateway. With that being said, they need to show up in September. Just at a certain point, it doesn't really matter what happens in the regular season. And I know it's only been 2 years of this, but we're going in the wrong direction. We went from winning the wildcard game to losing the wildcard game. So, we got to fix that.
Yeah. Coming from a standout perspective, Pierre Zimmerman, he's my player of the year. 316, 419, 597 slash is silly. 23 home runs in 86 games.
20 bags, too.
20 bags, too. Only 5 call stealings. Love it. Other than that, I mean, Castillo, Stewart, and Holt had good years. And they were the only guys. They showed up offensively. They got it. They handled it okay. They were top half. I mean, they weren't crazy, but they did enough considering that their pitching was pretty legitimate. Beyond that, on the pitching side of the ball, I mean, what's his face? Dalen Miley, I felt like was an issue all year long, not in a bad way. Like if you were dealing with 103 and a third innings covered, 14 Ks per 9 over that time, 161 strikeouts, 103 innings. That'll play.
Yeah. If not for the Quebec guys, he would have been talked about a lot more. But the Quebec guys, yeah,
exactly right. I mean, and then beyond that, it was Weinberg's. He spent some time in the rotation. Sullivan and Conrad sort of filled out the rotation nice. Yeah. And then bullpen, Hickey, Garco. Oh God, who else? Oh, Wally, De Los Santos. Yeah. Whaley and De Los Santos. They both did well. And De Los Santos popped into the rotation a couple times too, if I remember right. I think I saw a couple of his starts. Pitch okay.
Goose and Brown ate some innings in the bullpen too.
Goose and Flusen, indeed.
Which, can we just point out, Peter Zimmerman got hit 16 times last year.
Yeah, a little wild. Yeah, a tad excessive, if you ask me. I mean, I'm really sure they work inside on the hands, right? You got to figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're trying to hit him that often, especially, I mean, it's a quality lineup, so it's not like it's just him and a bunch of hacks. Hank Zeisler, by the way, hit 19 times.
I gotta see something. Can I sort by on base for reference hit by pitch? Yes, I can. I wanted to see who is the hit by pitch leader.
I can also run hit by pitch per plate appearance real quick.
Hit by pitch leader. Do you have any guess who would be the number one guy? Quick.
Zeisler, right?
No, he is tied for third. Ahead of him are Bryson Parks in New Jersey, and the leader with 24 hit by pitches in 87 games, Jackie Baez.
Damn, that's weird. It didn't show up in my initial sorting on baseball
I'm
reference.
going off a baseball reference here. So
No, I think you're right. I think baseball reference is sometimes weird, depending on what you're asking for.
yeah. In case you're wondering, Zeisler was tied with Evan Berkey, rather.
Let's see. Then I'll run. One sec. And I'll double check this. It looks like. Yeah, there you go. All right. Yeah, Berkey, though, was hit. Oh, my God. Hold on, dude. This is crazy if this is accurate. Berkey was hit 18 times.
I have 19.
In 191 plate appearances. That's 9.4% of his plate appearances he got hit by a pitch.
I think you might be off a little bit just because baseball reference is saying he had 231 plate appearances and was hit 19 times.
Weird.
Still a lot, but the percentage is different.
Huh. Wonder why that would be. No, and you're on baseball reference.
Yes.
Buddy, I got 51.
I went to Frontier League, then I went batting leaders, and then I went sort by hit by pitch. And I got the 63 number. That is with both what I believe to be Washington and Ottawa.
Here's what I got. Oh, I didn't combine his Washington's Ottawa numbers.
There you go.
I was looking at the team page. Got you. All right, that makes me feel a little better.
I was on the league page, that's why.
Oh, damn, we'll have to combine. I hate doing that. Frontier League numbers are so annoying. But that's so... Well, let me see. I only have Berkey's stats from Washington. I hate the Frontier League stat pages, dude. They're so trash. Yeah. Fucking dumb. Anyway.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to redo that later.
Any other thoughts on Gateway here, postseason success-wise? Like I said, that's the real thing here. I have no doubts for regular season. I think Steve Brook has him on the right path. It's just like we need to start performing in clutch time.
Yep. I fully agree.
Yep. I do wonder, though, if in 23 they missed their shot where you didn't have Washington there and you had a perceived to be weaker Evansville team. Like that was kind of...
Potentially feel that way.
And it was a bunch of close games, too. Now, I think Quebec was winning either way, but still, getting there means something. Any event, Joliet, a 38 and 58 record, 8th in the West, 14th in the league. The definition of a rebuild year. And I will say, I think they're developing a good culture. I love the leadership on and off the field. I think Mike Pinto is the guy here.
You're really trying to stay out of the bulletin board material category, huh?
Well, it didn't really hurt them or help them last year. So, like,
kind of nailed it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Though that was a manager criticism, which I think we can agree is probably unfounded.
Fair.
Well, it's founded, but I mean, I think that's proven incorrect.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I think it's just a year where they got to get everything back together. It's the first year under new ownership, first year under new leadership. You got to figure it out. There's a couple of the usual suspects that came back and produced like we know them to do. But, I mean, you look up and down here, there's some younger guys. There are some guys that you could probably make work or at the very least have earned enough to come back to prove that they deserve to be here next year. But there's also some guys here where it's like we're looking at, 26, 27, 29. I don't think there's too many 28-year-olds. That's why we're skipping over that. But it's not a particularly... I want to say it's not a particularly young roster because it's not that much older than some of the other ones we've mentioned here. But the difference is with those other rosters, they're 25, 24-year-olds. You could point to at least one or two things and go, producing there, I see why. Here, there's a lot less of that. And like the older players, you're 27, 28, 29, the guys that are approaching that veteran status that you're like, okay, you got to lead. There's not too many of those guys that were leading by example there.
Agreed. And really, I mean, offensively, I only had them having one above average offensive piece in their lineup regularly, and that was Matt Warken, who had a very good year. So, I mean, that is not nothing, but Warkentine, is that how we're doing?
Yeah, to the teen. Huh. Well, 10, not teen. There's no E at the end, but yeah.
Okay, I mean,
10.
I had Warkentin, but okay, sure. It's funny. I'll listen to this name 100 times during the year, and it will not internalize with me. And then I go to say it, and I go, "Oh."
No one comes here to hear their name said right, so we don't know what with that.
Move.
Yeah,
another joke on that one, but
Matty Dubs is the only guy.
Side, it's Gino Encina. He's 29. I mean, Cameron Smith did show up and have a good run over a large chunk of time out of the pen.
Yeah.
Jacob Morin looked good for a while there, but yeah, I mean, both them look good in the bullpen. But other than that, I mean, nothing really crazy in that. You're right to call it out. It's like you'd like to see maybe the talent base on a team that's rebuilding shy a little younger than it is right now. So that is going to be something to watch. We'll see what they do in free agency here. Hopefully they have some more clarity on the pieces they have and then can start to build young from there. I would assume would be the plan, but what do I know? I'm basically a monkey hammering cymbals together here.
Yeah, and like I understand keeping some guys in there as culture pieces. I imagine Zach Westcott's one of those types of guys that's like at this point, it's like the innings are starting to catch him a little bit. Although he did really good in Gastonia, so maybe, that's something. But 23 wasn't really his year. 22 was up and down, but he had a lot of innings those 2 years. I mean, he's always been an innings guy. So it could be just, like I said, he's thrown, what? In 11 indie ball seasons, he's thrown, over 1,100 innings. So, I mean, 13 seasons he's played, at least our list on Baseball Reference, he's 1 inning off of 1,300. That's a lot of innings to throw. You're throwing 100 innings each year. It's going to catch you. So maybe it's just that. But I get keeping some guys for culture, but it does feel like we're at the start of the rebuild. Let's see where we're at in a year or two.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I think I wouldn't sound any alarms on Joliet right now, but
no, they're doing what they're expected to do.
If the improvement is marginal and not, even if it's the same results, but with younger pieces, I still think it would be a successful year this year. But you'd like to see at least some improvement with that.
That or at least better individual performances. Even if the team results the same, if the individuals are performing.
Facts. Yeah. You can start to see I can see how some of these pieces might actually come together for a greater sum. But yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Moving on to Lake Erie, another team that had a really good year. 51-44, third in the West, seventh in the league. Surprisingly good season. A very dominant pitching team that they need to learn how to hit. But Gerald Lemieux in his second year feels a lot more comfortable under the lights, and I do think there are a lot of positives to start to take away from this. I do think we need to start really working on rebuilding this batting order. I mean, that's great.
It's entirely hung on Alfredo Gonzalez and Johnny Chichilo, or and Gonzalez played 38 games. There was nothing left in this lineup to do much. I mean,
they brought in Jason Agresti a little bit to help, and he did do a little bit of work helping out there. Although it's kind of weird that the Baseball Reference just lists Lake Erie for 24, even though he did spend most of the season in Sussex. That's a little bit odd. But
I mean, the best line, the best average basically in the lineup most days was hitting 275.
Yeah,
dude,
that's not going to work. And Vincent Burr is your power hitter at 15 home runs. I mean, that's nothing to go the other way up. It's also nothing that I'm pitching around either.
As a team, they slashed 239, 322, 377, which everyone would cringe at except for Windy City, who's not bad, pretty good.
Maybe that could be us one day,
someday. But that's not the position you want to be on necessarily.
Yeah. Pitching wise.
Yeah, now that we dunked all over that lineup, which is not fair, but
they know what they are.
So, I mean, Christian Scafidi, really, really good year. Over 47 outings, dropping a 137 ERA is crazy. Anthony Escobar also had a really good year in the rotation, sub 2.5 ERA. Trevor Kunkel had a good season, over 41 relief appearances. Jack Eisenbarger was nasty.
I mean, really only 17 pitchers when you get down to it. Pretty much kept the same guys.
Cal Carver, by the way, 166 ERA and 38 appearances. So, yeah, I mean,
Cal Carver is going to be a big piece for them going forward.
And that's not even talking about Sammy Tavares had a great year too. And that's like he's like the sixth pitcher to mention, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, even like a Kenny
Reagan's 378 ERA and 16 starts. That's huge.
Kenny Pearson, a decent long arm. Yeah.
Right.
Like everybody filled their role pitching staff wise. And the one
Leonardo Rodriguez, I forgot how good he was too.
Yeah, like you look at this team, and the one thing I will say is there's a lot of 26 and 28-year-old pitchers here, which tells me now is the time you got to go get those bats while you still have these arms.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm just looking. I forgot how good Rodriguez is on this team. He had almost 10 strikeouts per 9, and was allowing less than 7 hits per 9. And I'm just like, oh yeah, he was there too. Came out and threw almost 30 appearances, 53 innings.
Yeah, which I mean, you got to go ahead and you got to make the most while you have these guys here, and that's why I think it's real frustrating that they just don't have any offense. Like, oh my god! Like, if I've ever seen two teams that are so meant to be trade partners, it was Florence and Lake Erie.
Yeah.
There's a deal to be made there where you move like 1 or 2 bats for 1 or 2 pitchers, and everybody's happy.
Sure, I agree, because it is like an embarrassment of riches situation. Matt Mulhern, by the way, also had a good year. Don't want to short him. 383 in 18 starts.
Not a bad playoff either, I believe. You think?
I'm sorry, 527 in 18 starts. So not as impressive, but for a 5-starter, it's pretty crazy good in indie ball.
Yeah. Well, was he a 5 or was he a 4? Because I think Edgemandia was more like the 5.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I forgot.
Between innings pitched and starts.
Yeah, you're right. That's fair. Yeah, so Matt Mulhern, you got to get together. Just completely flip on the guy.
4, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. Well.
So what if you would have been like a 2 on a couple of these teams that we're going to talk about? A 1 probably on a couple of them too. But
but we're not getting New England yet.
They're coming up.
That was unnecessary, by the way. They were better than both Jersey teams, so that was rude.
Yes, but the main point that I take away with Lake Erie is I like where they're heading. I like what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But by God, you need at least one major threat in that lineup.
Oh God, I know. Yeah, it's tough when you go up if you accidentally give up a 3 spot in the 3rd, and you're like, well,
that's all she wrote today, lads.
Boys, yeah. The right fielder stops paying attention for their team.
You gotta hope and pray ball. All right, let's go to Schaumburg.
Yes, sir.
51 and 45, 4th in the West, 8th in the league. If I recall right, they were injured for a decent chunk of the year. They lost a lot of man innings. That being said, I also kind of feel like we're starting to transition the guard here. I think we're starting to get some new faces in, and it does kind of feel like they got punished for playing an extra game.
Right, kind of crazy, but
I get it because winning percentage, but like it never sits right with me. Like, oh, you didn't get rained out one day, so you're gonna miss the postseason now because you had the misfortune of losing a game in the rain.
Yeah, I mean, most of their pitching was good throughout this year.
At least not holding them back.
Great. Yeah, like it wasn't like I don't have any of them like my top 10% of the league, but I have 6 guys in my top half, which is enough. Like that'll work. When you look at the offensive side, you start to see like a little bit more of where the threats are at. I mean, I don't know if anybody stood out to you, but like Alec Craig and Christian Fedko were my 2 big guys that I really liked watching throughout the year.
Chase Dawson gets on base and he steals bags. He's a mover and a shaker. A dare I say, Brady Salisbury type player.
Aaron Simmons also had a good year, by the way. Fairly young roster offensively, at least. I'm not really into pitching right now. Well, yeah, pitching, sure. Actually.
Also a nice young piece, 24, hit nearly 300 in about 70 games.
Yeah, and I'll round out with Kyle Fitzgerald. I didn't really hit for average, but still put up an 800 OPS, which will work. 25 years old, 8 homers over 54 games. I mean, not a bad year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Joe Willie Gary, also phenomenal name, 3 first names.
Yeah. The guy's got 3 first names. Yeah. DeProto Johnson, not the year necessarily I was looking for out of him. But yeah, I mean, the problem is they had about 6 good lineup pieces, but then they had the 7, 8, 9 most nights of a lineup that would be like a bottom tier offensive team. Yeah, and it was just, I think that it's just hard, man. It's hard to have that rhythm night to night. And you can see where they're going a little bit, but yeah, it just wasn't enough this year.
Yeah, it just like Cole Cook was solid. I like Cole Cook on that team, but I'm looking pitching wise, and I see exactly what you mean. Like, they're not holding you back, but also they're not going to help you out either. And that's
sorry.
No,
20 starts in a sub-4 ERA for Cole Cook is really impressive. He deserves that shout out.
Plus, the strikeout numbers are insane, but they always are.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, Schaumburg's not a bad team. Like I said, the injuries make them hard to overall judge because they weren't injured. They probably get in over Lake Erie. That being said, you judge them based off of what they did, and so it feels a little disappointing. And it just feels like right now they got to make a decision whether they double down with this same group again for one more shot at it, or do you start to transition those pieces through? And I look at the way the West is, and it feels like your proper place to start to transition this thing, because Gateway is going to be better than you, and Washington's going to be better than you. We're going to talk about Washington next. Lake Erie seems like they're on pace with you. Florence is poised to jump up there. Evansville and Joliet probably aren't going to be doing it, but who knows there. And now that Windy City has new ownership, maybe they do something sooner than later. But yeah, you could probably contend for that wildcard spot, travel to Gateway. Maybe you sneak by them, but do you think you beat Washington? Probably not. Like, that's the one thing with the West is if they repeat like they did last year, a lot of mediocre teams, a lot of middling ground teams, but the teams at the top will beat your brains in. So, like, do you feel confident that you can win one series in September against them? And I don't know if I say that about this team.
I mean, I have nothing to add even on that. I think I nailed it. I think that is the crossroads they're coming to, and they're going to have to navigate now.
I like Jamie Bennett, though. I think he'll figure it out. He's definitely.
Yeah, I think he is not one of those ones where you look at them and go, how the hell are you with the resources you have going to navigate this thing? He's one of the handful of managers that I consistently would have confidence in sort of coming to a crossroads.
Exactly. Last point I'm going to throw into the ether. We're going to talk about Washington, but I'm going to throw into the ether for the conversation later on. Is David Harris, because I saw him listed on Schaumburg's roster this past year, is he an Indie Ball Hall of Fame type player? Kicked around a while, about a 300 batter. Don't have to answer now, but it's just a thinking point.
We should have that conversation this offseason, huh?
Yeah. I feel like he is. I feel like he gets over the line because he had a couple of really solid years.
Maybe. I'm thinking about that more. I look at the whole body of work type of thing on that one. But
yeah,
I'm looking, actually, yeah, that's an episode I'm excited for.
All right, going to Washington, 67-28, best team in the West, best team in the league.
Oof.
Amazing year, best team on paper this past year. This is their core. The group they have now is a solid group, and the group they're going to run with going forward. And I think this is a group that can have a lot of success. They need to get over the hump. They did a lot better than I think past Washington teams that may have been equally as well regarded did. They did scare Quebec, but a lot of teams scare Quebec, and then Quebec is inevitable. So they're just the latest in the line of victims. That being said, the series did live up to what we wanted it to do, and same focus on Washington. It's a good group. It's a little bit of an older group in some areas, but that being said, Caleb McNeely's 24, Tommy Caulfield's 24, Andrew Check's only 27, so you got a little bit of time there. Wagner Lagrange is 28, so you got some more time to make a decision there. Same thing with Tyreek Reed. You got probably another year or two with that heart of your lineup. And Carson Clovers, he's a 24-year-old who looks like he could have something there. He played 55 games, so you have to have some confidence in him. And
McElwain fell into the lap this year out of Binghamton. He got let go.
Yeah.
He had a really good run for 46 games /300, 375, 537 from them. Yeah, he was a really good find midseason.
Yep. Santini was a catcher, if I remember right. Right? JC Santini. Yes, catcher.
Right, yes. Yeah.
Yep, catcher. So he's a younger guy, 26, I believe. 25, 26. Seemed pretty solid behind the plate. I'm sure you could find another catcher like that, but for now, solid option there. Realistically, I'm looking at that rotation. One of the few teams that actually has a solid 1 through 5 setup here. And I mean, if your 4 and 5 are Frigio and Barrington, that's a damn good rotation. I mean, DeValorio, solid work. Kobe Foster, solid work. Zach Kirby, phenomenal work. All in told, solid team there. I mean, 4 starters had 90 or more strikeouts. They all had 75 or more strikeouts. So that tells you they can really throw the ball, really get it done. And even DeValorio, who was a 75 strikeout guy, he only walked 18 guys in 122 innings. So he's not overpowering guys. He's not giving free passes either. So you can't really complain there. 17 pitchers this past year, and of the 17, you'd also have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that appeared in 4 or fewer games. Well, not take the back, Force as well. 5 of them that appeared in 4 or fewer games. So realistically, you're looking more like 12, 13 guys for the whole way through. And they didn't need more than that. I mean, this is a team that was a dominant pitching team. I kind of forgot how great they were pitching-wise. Christian James, solid. Munoz, damn good year. Kim looked very good as a closer. McDonald and Nail, even solid options here. And the thing Zach Kirby, yeah, I mentioned him as a starter there. I mean, 24 doing that, Frigio 24 doing that, and all the other stars are 26. So this pitching core is locked in. Munoz is only 25. So, I mean, really, I'm looking at all the key contributors pitching wise, and Nail's the oldest one at 28. Everybody else is 27 or younger, and most of them are 26 or younger. You got another 2-3 years of this pitching core. And like I said earlier with the batting, they're a little bit older. They're more 26 and up. But you got 2 or 3 guys that are a bit younger. They're in that 24 range. It's a team that's set up to succeed for the next 2, 3, 4 years with this group. And it's just a matter of getting to the West, which should largely be easy until you hit the postseason, which even then, you feel pretty good about it. And then it's a matter of dealing with who comes out of the East. Do you get a Quebec Slayer or do you get Quebec again? That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. And I mean, so you basically named everybody I was going to name. I'll follow up because his offensive numbers weren't super impressive, but JC Santini is probably one of the best catchers in the league, by the way.
No.
According to according to FL Savant, which again, check that out. Shout out to Jack Kelly. Second highest framing runs. Teams get after it. So
real ball.
out there, dude, out there stealing strikes. He's a boy you want receiver down there. That sounded bad. Anyway,
Hey,
clip that.
Santini's part of the reason why they have such a great pitching staff, at least part of it. You have a guy that can go ahead and frame well, guy that your pitchers feel comfortable with. That's a huge plus. You can, and when you have that kind of defense in front of them, batting wise, when you have 4 or 5 guys that you're like, yeah, they're going to probably hit above 270. They're probably going to have at least 10 to 15 jacks. You're like, yeah, we can afford to lose one spot to a guy that makes our pitchers like a half run better.
Glue guy behavior, I'll tell you that much.
Exactly. You can stick around for a long time. You can stick around for a long time and build a career in baseball by being a glue guy.
Yep. Yeah, man.
I mean, it's a really solid team.
Yeah, they're good, and they look like they're going to be good for a while, which is all caps terrifying.
It is if you're in the West. Which is there really any downside talking about Washington? I mean, like, I feel like I touched on it a bit, with just like, you got to win the big thing. And like, you're at the point where if you don't do that, it's disappointing, even though you can acknowledge, like, we had a great year, but we didn't accomplish the goal.
Yeah, I can't really find anything. I mean, they're pretty much one of the best put together teams potentially in all indie ball. So, yeah, man, that's pretty sexy. I'm going to be honest.
And before we hit Windy City, I just want to backtrack to one point earlier. I was talking about there's 4 teams ahead of you in the West. I did blank on this for a second. There is the new playoff system in place in the Frontier League with the division winners and the wild cards. I'm still standing by my point here. If you're a borderline team, it's tempting to take a shot at it, but I think you're better off starting to turn pieces over and revamp and re-go at it. Especially if you have a bit of an older lineup or you don't have those 1 or 2 studs that you're like, okay, they're 24, 25. Now's our time to go for this. Well, we got like 3 or 4 years of them. You're better off saying, all right, keep who we need, move on from the rest, and let's get some new blood in. I stand by the point. I just wanted to bring it up because I'm sure there was at least 1 or 2 people going, yeah, but there's a new playoff system, so that changes things. Doesn't really. But
success is success, baby.
Yep. Windy City, 40 and 56, 7th in the West, 12th in the league. I like Bobby Jenks.
Yeah.
I think there's some pieces, but we really need to start becoming relevant again.
And need the boys to play some ball here. Yeah. Need to do some offense stuff. That's for sure.
Well, when the Pythagorean win-loss is 37 to 59.
It's not what the experts would call good, and also not what the non-experts would call good either, which puts you in a tight spot. I mean,
the only guy that I could say we don't burn at the stake here.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true.
Were we talking about Cam Feltz or Robert Chaika? Like,
we're talking offensively, aren't we?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sorry.
Pitching wise, there's guys. There's some dogs pitching wise.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Go through 32 batters.
Yeah, Laporte's so good too, man. Different conversation. But offensively, kill this lineup with fire. Not the people, just burn every lineup card and get rid of the evidence. I mean, most days going out there, they were rolling out a lineup with no better than a 277 batting average on average. So this, let me see, what was their team average again? Because it was shocking if I recall. 235. Tough. You hate to see that. That's for sure. And I gotta say, on average, the average lineup going out there at about 240. So that is shocking and appalling. Kevin Pindle, though, one of the top 5 pitchers in the league, possibly. I was
going to say 122 innings essentially, and a 2 ERA is amazing.
Super gross, yeah. 3.6 WAR for those of you who care about math.
Armbruster too was solid. He threw a lot of innings and was a solid pitcher.
Mahoney and Duncan and Helgeff, and I'll give that. And Laporte is a guy. He's a dog. I've been about him for a long time.
Rydell's not bad for a 23-year-old. And honestly, even Dan Brown, he only threw 27 innings, and the ERA was almost 5. But he's 21. And he struck out a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So like I'm looking at the pitching side of things. I'm like, they're not.
Kind of figured that part out.
Yeah, like I'm looking at all the guys that really are like, okay, yeah, we got to keep them, use them. Like they're 27 or younger, and honestly, like Hindall's 25, Mahoney's 25, Helgett is 24, Armbruster's 23. Like Brown's 21. I still think there's a lot of meat on that bone.
Greg Duncan, by the way, having
low key. I mean,
brief but nice appearance. Black Sox guy, if I remember right.
Yeah. So I mean, like the pitching got pieces, but my God, is the batting abysmal. Like,
yeah,
you can't run it back. Here's the thing: like, I want to say, oh, maybe Cam Feltz, but like at 27, I need you to hit better than 256.
Yeah.
And it's not even like the fact he's hitting 256. I could live with that. But he didn't hit for any power. He's still like 304 and he struck out 78 times. Like, if you're going to strike out that much, dude, if you're striking out once a game, I need you to give me some power or get on base, do something to negate it. And honestly, I think that's part of the problem here. You look at like everybody that played 70 or more games, and like, with the exceptions like Sanchez and Kuzmic, they all struck out a lot. I mean, realistically, even 50 games or more, there's a lot of 60 strikeout guys here. Figueroa's even a strikeout a game guy. So, like, your top 10 for batters for games played here, there's like maybe 2 that you're like, okay, I can live with those strikeout numbers. Everybody else, it's like, it's a lot of Ks for very little production.
Yeah, it's pretty. I would call it hard to defend.
Mm-hmm. Because they can't even chuck up strikeouts to a ballpark. That's just straight up you're not catching the ball or you're swinging at bad pitches.
Yeah. I'm just trying to even see. I mean, where's my top offensive guy?
Probably Henry.
For Windy City, like ranked. Like, I mean, I don't have a Windy City batter in the top 100 from this season.
That makes sense.
Which feels not possible in a 16-team league. Like the math would say you'd have, approximately 6, and you don't have any, which is crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's almost impressive they scored as many runs as they did, which sounds bad.
Like, here's the thing,
kind of crazy.
I guess this is a very young team too. I should point that out. There's a lot of guys that probably should still be in college on this team. Recent grads too, which I mean that could be a sign that ownership overextend themselves if both teams were not particularly good against a lot of college boys. Yeah,
and the youngest pitching staff. Yeah, I would probably say this ownership is a garbage fire.
Good thing that they don't own this team anymore. Gives them some hope there. But even looking at here, like at least looking at it, normally you go like, okay, there's some younger guys here, but there's stuff that we could go ahead and take away from it and say like, yeah, this is the guy that we should probably keep investing in. Outside of like Emmanuel Sanchez, Henry Kuzek, and maybe Tommy Rodriguez is a stretch in mid, like that batting stat is just oof. He better be a catcher and he better be good at framing. It doesn't list his position for Baseball Reference here, so I don't know. And I'm not going to keep looking it up here. But, I mean, like, there's not a lot that you're really thinking, like, yeah, we got to keep trying to make him work. There's not a lot of guys like that right now. And that's a problem. Even like a guy like Joe Johnson, who's only 24. I mean, again, there's not enough offense to justify 106 strikeouts to 116 total bases.
I'll say this for the context of what I was saying, that it's almost like it's almost lucky that they put up as many runs as they did. So they were second worst in the league with 391 runs scored. Sussex had 380. But when you just take like the raw like data of these guys and like sort of take sort of the weird variables out, I mean, they're kind of an offense that should be scoring about 360 runs for a season. So 20 less than Sussex. So they overachieve by about 30 runs, according to my map.
So how many runs a game would that break down to over a 96 game season?
That would be 3.74, which would be almost a quarter run less than the other team.
Okay, I was going to say even rounded up to 4 runs a game. I mean, like,
yeah,
it's kind of a miracle that these young pitchers were doing as good as they were. I mean, you're walking out there basically going, hey, if I give them a run today, we're probably not going to win.
Yeah, and I wonder. Let me see real quick. The Pythag was like 37 wins, so even worse. But I think part of that is because I do think there were some games that got a lot out of hand and they saved some pitching.
Yeah,
because you can identify quickly with your offense that like, oh, we're not going to come back in this. And I think a couple of games got out of pocket quick. So they have more blowout losses than blowout wins, which comes with the territory when your offense is quiet. But yeah, man. Well, they know what they need to do. You know what I mean? That's good. That's better than a lot of teams. A lot of teams are like, where do you even begin? Like, it's like, hey, you need offense.
Keep Bobby. He knows what he's doing with the pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
Give him some budget to go get some guys that can hit, and let's see what can happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the objective here is. So that'll do for the West. We go to the East. New England's up first, 38-56. 6th in the East, 13th in the league. I think we kind of beat New England to death for a large chunk of the year, so I'm not sure how much we want to dwell on it because I think people know our position, but no real star power. It's a weak roster overall.
Yeah. The offense held their own. Above average offense for a run scored.
Really?
Yes,
that's kind of surprising to me.
They were scoring about a quarter run a game better than average, but there are also some pretty pitiful offenses as we've discussed. So they pulled the number down a little bit on average.
Yeah. Generally speaking, it feels like they're in trouble off the field, and it feels like they need better leadership. And that's, I mean, I want like dissecting it. I'm trying to see like who I'd be willing to keep around here. Austin White's a dude.
John Cristino.
Jack Cristino, yeah.
Cristino, yep.
Jack Wold, an interesting player.
Yeah, Jake Boone.
Jake Boone. Okay, so that's a solid little 4-piece out there.
Yeah, because I was looking at White as well.
Yeah, I said White earlier.
My bad.
Yeah.
All of them.
Bags, impressive. That's White's 60 swipe season.
Between the 4 of them, they put up an average OPS like an 832. It's pretty good. John Cristino is probably one of the top. You could argue one of the top 5 offensive players in the league. He's probably in my top 10. So he really had a year for himself. 293, 367, 583 slash, if you're into that kind of thing. 26 homers.
Great production from a catcher position, too.
No, crazy. Beyond that, on the pitching side, that's where it got real thin. And I mean, 10. So they threw 28 pitchers. I would say they threw meaningful innings with about 19 pitchers. 10 of them are in the bottom half of pitchers in the league. It's not. Oh, I'm sorry. No, not the bottom half. The bottom 30%.
Okay.
So half of the pitchers they threw were in the bottom 30%. Only half the guys they threw were even in the top half. So it does make some sense. But I didn't have any of their pitchers in the top 10% of the league, and only 2 were in the top 30% of the league.
I mean,
and one of them just made 7 starts. Nemo Sullivan, by the way, dog, dude, grinds to a 4.6 ERA on this team. 134 innings pitched. Love that, man.
Sam Ryan was kind of okay. I mean, like he threw almost 100 innings. Strikeouts were solid for what he did. I mean, oh god, there really is like
Reeves Martin and Richard
Martin.
Brito were the 2 that stood out to me.
I mean, there's not too much else here. Like,
yeah, and I don't believe they're going to do much to fix this.
The thing is, it's not like it's that young of a
No.
pitching core either.
Yeah.
Like the younger guys that help bring down this overall age. They didn't pitch them in innings, and the innings they did pitch weren't particularly good. Like
Offense is young.
Offense is young. Offense gives you hope, especially rocking with that four-piece that we're talking about.
Yeah. And even Garcia, no. But I was more optimistic on him just based on my own memory of the guy. But Tommy Kretzler. I mean, their thing is like they're 5, 6, 7 aren't a disaster. They're still like above average bats for the league. The problem comes after that, where they basically have nobody to finish out that lineup. And then when you're trying to make up for that pitching staff, it's just not going to get it done.
Mm-hmm. Like, here's the thing. Like, I want to get on Edmondson a bit because I wasn't a fan of the hire from the get-go, and I'm still not a huge fan of it, but I'm also like,
it's his fault. I mean, like, you know what I mean? I think he
far down on the list of
issues. He's put in a spot where I'm not sure what else he can do. Like,
that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say,
I think this was about
a chance to succeed.
Yes, Sussex and New Jersey put out two teams that in some nations would be considered a war crime. However, if you told me that he was going to put a roster out there, Edmondson his first year, that was going to beat two of the teams in the division, I'd be like, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. I mean, he was going to assemble an offense that was going to be middle of the pack. I mean, cool. And this isn't a super pitcher friendly park, by the way. It's almost exactly balanced. So it's not, they're not cashing in on that. And I would assume a just rabid fan environment, also promoting some scoring.
Yeah. I was gonna say Edmondson wasn't given the resources to succeed.
No,
and he was kind of set up to fail here. So
not only he doesn't have the connections to make this work. We've talked on indie ball managers with like no indie ball experience before. It's a terrible position to be in.
No professional experience, even.
No, yes, good God, great point. And then he's not being equipped. It's one thing if it's like, and here's a budget, and here's a facilities, and this and that. Then you can scrap together something for sure. You know what I mean? This wasn't that. This was not that.
You had no facilities. You were given a lot of this stuff last minute. You didn't know what they were doing. It's very clear it's day with that. You had no budget to make it happen. And you have no background in professional ball, minor league ball, even Division I ball. Your background is what? Division II and Division III, Framingham State? Like, that's not going to cut it here. I mean, that's not going to cut it in really any league. Like, at least if he had been a bench coach or something in any of the other indie leagues and got to see it happen, or they gave him like, I don't know, like a Billy Horn or somebody that's been around for a while that has some connections to help out, then I could see it. Then I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe this could work. You patch it together for a little bit, but like he was set up to fail. Now that being said, he still wasn't the right hire, but you didn't do him any favors. When he needed a lifeboat, you threw him a cinder block. So I can't put that much on him. Like I said, he's far down on the list of reasons the season went the way it did.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they might have 3 pitchers in the top 100 in the league, which again is kind of a crazy stat. Yeah, it's tough. That's what we call a tough one.
Well, the good news is the next team up is New Jersey. So
Joe Testa.
We're going to talk about the 35-61 team that was 7th in the East, 15th in the league. And I'm just going to level off here.
Crazy they weren't last. Just crazy. It says so much about Sussex.
I'm going to start off very, very potently by just saying this is another situation where a manager is set up to fail. I feel bad for Bert.
Not Bert's problem, man. He did everything. It's a miracle. Here's my thing. Okay, I'm sorry because I know we're not talking Sussex right now, but like you're telling me, okay, the same ownership, right? You got to figure there's some argument that Sussex gets a better setup than Jersey. that can be debated because I know Jersey's in a weird situation. Sussex also kind of an odd one. But you got Chris Widger on one side, you got Burt on the other, and Burt comes out at like, I mean, what, head in the standings? Like, Burt kind of cooked, if we're honest.
I was gonna say, like, here's the thing that doesn't really surprise me because Bert's been around indie ball longer. Bert has better connections in there. Bert knows more guys, and he also has his own scouting thing going on. So
he just grinded his way to like 38 wins in a team that should not have 38 or 35 wins on a team should not have 35 wins. If we're honest, that team is brutal. I mean,
Emmanuel Rosario had a pretty solid year. Bryson Parks got hit a bunch, and that's how he got on base. Hit by pitch merchant, but hey, however you got to do it.
Hit by pitch merchant, such a funny phrase. It gets me every time.
Trent Taylor had a solid enough year. 42 stolen bags. Honestly, this team ran a lot, dude. 34, 42,
you
35.
You got to. What are you going to do? Spend money? Not going to do that? You better run. I mean, shout out to pulling Yui Sako out of his ass, by the way. Crazy pickup.
Solid ass. Honestly, Tyson Long, solid pitch too. Like, he's a solid ad. Even,
I know Saho was like, I know he pitched in 2023 for PJ, but still, like, to get him to come back is crazy. Like, I get it. Maybe he wants to be in the US, but still, it's pretty impressive. Also, not the PJ shout out here has to be, I can't believe you took a team to playoffs in that environment. That's kind of crazy. Like, it's kind of wild.
You're not wrong. And like, here's the thing, and I will continue to give Bert his flowers here by saying, don't forget, he got a late start on this. It was what, end of January, beginning of February?
Yeah, right.
So he was just like, here, you got like 9 weeks till opening day. Figure it out.
Tyson Long had a good year. By the way, my third most valuable pitcher for them. I was just reminding myself because I kind of forgot just how good that year was. I was like, yeah, he had a season, but no, he actually, solid good year. But can we discuss my third best pitcher on the team was Joe Testa. Hilarious.
Not wrong though.
Way to be, dude. 38 years old, get after it. Still got it.
Yeah, like Zach Morris was solid for his limited appearances too.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
That's the thing. There's some decent arms here. It's not totally hopeless, and I'm actually very curious to see what Burke can do with the full off season. Now he's not going to have a budget, but like,
yeah, I was going to say. I mean, you only do so much without, what are we paying people in room and board in the glorious city of Paterson, New Jersey? In it for the glamour, Poppy.
Yeah, you boys can live in Clifton.
Go for the angry DM. Anyway, let's go with Clayton Melbauer was disgusting offensively. Only 31 games, but like his numbers were hysterical. Put a 1 OPS up there.
Also, too solid.
Acevedo, Scott and Rio both had great years.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some pieces offensively. Rosario had a good year.
Yeah.
I'll go Genter for doing that too, even though it wasn't, he only played about half the year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, definitely, like Rosario's 23.
Did some things.
Yeah. Genther, again, another guy kind of under the radar, 23-year-old there. I don't think it's totally. Acevedo, we've mentioned, he was 24. Mel Bauer's 25. Like, I don't think it's totally hopeless with this group. It's just like, man, I wish you'd have a budget to work with.
Mel Bauer, by the way, interesting. And this is a guy who weighed heavily in the Frontier League of sliding compared to the Atlantic. With the Atlantic this year, hit about basically 678 OPS with High Point, and then 432 OPS with Staten Island in a small series there. Like, played for about a week or two with them. But in between that, had a 1 OPS with New Jersey. And that was the one where I started to go, oh, it's the Frontier League falling apart. It's not that bad. It's not nearly that, but it did. The math was not helped by Mel Bauer pulling that on the Frontier League.
Dude has a hot week, and all of a sudden.
Yeah. Really sidetracked the whole vibe. Oh, no, he played, 31 games for Jersey.
Dude has a hot month, and all of a sudden.
Yeah. I mean, just saying. It did show a little something that maybe Frontier League is struggling a little. But no, expand it more. That'll help.
All right. Yeah, I think
widen the talent pool. Surely it'll stay just as deep.
Those crowds of 200 and 300 fans need to see this, though. Oh, wait, I forgot. New Jersey drew, according to Baseball Reference, which uses the Frontier League numbers, 1,700 people a game.
We can't all be Worcester. We can't all be Worcester, dude. You know, we can't all be the bustling metropolis that is Worcester, Massachusetts. And Brockton's doing what they can.
Let's go to New York, 52 and 44.
Fourth
in the East, sixth in the league. Close, no cigar year. The pieces are there, but my God, win a big game for once, please.
Jesus.
You're going to sit here and tell me that when the season came down to we got to win this series, they came through?
Yeah, it's tough.
Like, they just didn't. And, like, the thing is, they're not necessarily a bad team, right? Like, Vinsky, down year. Quitzer, good year. You got Austin Dennis, who looked pretty good. Nick Gotta performed here, but I mean, he's 31. I kind of expect that to be the case. Joe DeLuca is fine. He grabs power in a ballpark where you can definitely do that if you hit it to the right spot. If you hit to the wrong spot, it could be just a fly out. Permakin, solid year. Here's my biggest thing with them looking at it here. And I just want to make sure, looking at the pitching. The pitching's a little bit younger in parts. I mean, like a guy like Tyler Vale drags down those numbers, but I mean, Sanger's 26, Cooper's 24, Backman's 25, Drexel's 26. The bulk of your rotation's fine. You can make do and fill out that spot here. The problem is offensively, the young guys don't produce all that much. Ficca looks like he may have, I mean, that's 18 games, and I can draw too much of a sample size there. And just like Ryan McCoy, who's 22 and 17 games, and I can draw much off of that.
Bellany, I mean, he looked good. He's 22.
I mean, yeah, I'll give you Bellamy, but like the rest of them that were 26 or older. And like, it's not like, oh, well, there's a bunch of 27-year-olds here. It's like Quitzer's 29, Dennis is 27, Goddess 31, DeLuca's 28. You don't have a lot of time left with those guys.
No, they're dying. Or, I mean, they're aging out. Yeah.
Thomas Walraven, another guy that got in some games, 29.
Really, also catching me is the lack of depth in the rotation. And it kind of makes sense, the issues they had.
Where, like, Backman, that's about it. Hope that God it holds on.
Yeah, because essentially, I mean, we saw them really cook in the beginning of the year and then fall off as they hit tougher competition. And I think that's kind of what you see. Those types, the 4 and 5, and even the 3 being a little sketchy, struggled a bit against that lesser competition, but it could be covered up by some big offensive games and, you know, a couple shutdown games from the pitching side, you know, against a struggling offense. But you just can't do that when you start stringing together Quebec and Ottawa and you know, it just starts to get a little bit too much to cover. And I think that's kind of what sort of get exposed as that season dragged on a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're spot on with the depth there. I mean, there's just not that much there. And like the thing I'm afraid of here is, and I do think TJ Stanton's a good manager. I think he gets the job done, but I just think the score is at the end of the line here. I think you got 25 and then it's time to turn it over. And I'm saying you have 25 is I think there's enough guys here like a Vinsky, like a Quitzer, like a Denis or Dennis. I keep on go with the French pronunciation there, even though I know it's not French. I think those guys, they're the ones that didn't perform, I think can bounce back. And the ones that did perform, I think can hold on for another year. And I think when you have that kind of a group, you go for it one more time. It's a little bit different than Schomburg, right? Where like, yeah, there were some down years there, but none of those guys really had like eye-popping years prior. These guys, like, they can have it. And I feel like also in the East, especially with the way this division's set up, they're in a good role.
I think you have to keep this group together one more time just based on the division you have. I mean, I would say let's not do anything crazy trying to get, trying to think ahead and waste what could be one of the easiest. I think we agreed last time it's probably the easiest division in any ball this year.
I mean, you got Sussex, New Jersey, and Down East.
Yeah, I think New York Boulders might have the easiest road to the playoffs of any team in any ball.
Which then I counter with this, though, to just argue against that point. Does that mean this is the time you go ahead and you're trying to turn over now when you're like, okay, we got an easy division here. Even if we're not that good, we should still be a playoff team, and then it's just win a couple series.
True. You could argue that. I would say don't gamble. Maybe it is something you can do once you get into the season. I wouldn't recommend doing it in the off season, but it is maybe you can start to move some of the pieces around a little bit once you see what Down East is bringing. Like kind of, we've seen some new teams come out and shock the world a little bit. I don't see that with Down East. I don't think they're gonna be doing that. But once you are sure that Jersey and Sussex are still going to be embarrassing, and that Down East isn't going to set the world on fire year one, then you can maybe start to make some future focused moves. And then you can also take advantage of teams realizing they have needs as the season gets rolling.
Okay. I could go for that. I could definitely go for that. But
it's kind of a middle ground of what we're saying. Like maybe it is the time to do it, but I wouldn't do it in the offseason.
Yeah. It just feels like with this group, it's a good enough group and it's historically performed and you have everything lined up where even if you have a down year, you're probably going to get that wild card. You have a wild card possibility here. Mm-hmm. But I mean, see how they play it out. Ottawa up next, 53-42, third in the East, fifth in the league. Clutch team. They came up when they needed to. A lot of heart in there. Can't deny that. I think the two Wrights and company are a decent group here. Age may become a problem sooner than later, but overall still solid. The problem is Quebec. They keep running into Quebec at the worst possible times. They can't really dodge them this year, but they can push them back a little bit. Maybe that's enough. But Ottawa is a fascinating team to me because they aren't inherently on paper like this great team, but they always show up and they always make it tough in the games that matter, Yeah. It's just like Furman is probably one of the few young guys that gets a lot of playing time there. The rest are all 27 really and up, or Bias is 26, but O'Donnell, he's younger. He got in there and performed. Castillos did too. I guess I'm not entirely right with that, but the big guys, the big dogs there, the Wrights, Jamie Smart, Isaacson, Ibarra, those are all older guys, so maybe this is kind of like towards the end of that, but
Baez is 26 and 27, which is sort of fringy. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't really notice that. It's funny until you brought it up, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're kind of right.
Yeah, even on the pitching side, like Jordan's 29, Larson's 27. Those are like your two big guys. Pena's only 24 and Gray's only 24. And those are big innings guys and solid, 3-4 guys there. They didn't really have a 5, but a lot of teams don't really have a set 5. But, pitching wise, I mean, they're going to be younger because those innings hurt more. It's just the fact of life. So they also put out the guys that they're picking up the options for too. And there was a couple surprising leave-offs there. I'd have to pull it back up. I forget who, but there's one that really I was like, wow, really didn't get picked up. But yeah, overall, it's a fascinating team because it's a team that, like, again, they fly under the radar in the regular season, and then the postseason, they're like, oh yeah, these guys are they're a bit of a problem now.
Yeah, and I think part of it is the kind of a lack of star power, essentially. I mean, AJ Wright is really good, standout player. I would say Brendan O'Donnell sort of fits in that mold. Other than that, I mean, Narvaez and Decoche are good, but they're not, attention grabbers. Then on the pitching side, guys like Larson, Jandrin, Harris, and Blowers, they're not really stand out. I mean, Blowers only there for 5 stars, but he just sticks in my head because I was really impressed because that was crazy. But
solid run. Yeah, especially in the postseason, he was very solid.
Yeah. So that's where I'm kind of like, I think that might be why they kind of go under the radar, because it's not like, wow, like not a guy every fifth day going out there and absolutely like ripping eyeballs out. Where it's not like one guy just going on an offensive tear. I mean, no one had more than 13 home runs on this team. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a lot of it. I mean, they had 67 homers as a team this year. Yeah, I think that's it. They're just a consistent team, and they're well built, and they're one of those ones that's, kind of constructed in a way where they're just difficult enough to navigate the entire time.
I will say I have the client options too. Ibarra, Isaacson, Prinz, and Arlison Rodriguez all had their options declined. Jamie Smart and Kyle White got dealt to Joliet for future considerations, and they granted Ernesto Peñales his release to pursue an opportunity in Mexico. So I assume that's LMB.
Interesting.
Peñales will definitely hurt.
Yeah, Taylor Wright didn't play
Taylor Wright's still back.
I'm sorry. I thought you said that they let him go.
No, Ibarra, Isaacson, Prinz, and Rodriguez.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I think that's all move us in the right direction.
Ibarra's a little bit. I think he may have had a little bit more in the tank.
If I'm honest.
Isaacson too. He's a solid enough catcher behind the plate there. I'm a little bit surprised there, but he may have ticked over into veteran category, in which case then, I mean, I get it. True. I get it.
I mean, Ibarra taking up a veteran slot and hitting, slashing 241, 335, 323. Just, I don't know. It's a hard sell for me.
It's a big drop. He spent 3 years in Mexico, so that's kind of surprising that he'd have that kind of a drop. More of an American Association.
I don't know. Though he didn't play well in Mexico in 2023, and he got let go after a really bad start. So there could be something there. Maybe this is getting toward the end of the road. I gotta check back on, see some of these at bats to see what's going on there. 31, it's a lot of time to ride buses. I'll tell you that. I mean, he's going on 10 years of bus rides, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of a slowdown there.
Definitely. But yeah, overall, it's an interesting team there. They slide around. Bobby Brown's definitely worked out really well there.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. I mean, and no better endorsement than what's going on in Sussex.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But I guess it's time to talk about older brother in Quebec. So let the glazing begin.
Wow, really pleased it that way.
I mean, come on, until you beat him in the postseason, that's the way it is. 64-32, first in the East, second in the West. Obviously, we know what happened in the postseason. This is a team that, again, is like Gideon's the star of the operation, and Lacroix is almost an underrated star too. But there's a lot of guys here that's just like, it's a death by 1,000 cuts. The depth of it is just, oh god, it's such a good team. The depth is unreal. Valentine, Quadrion, Kinsey, Crawl, LeBrew. Oh god, they just keep coming at you. They come in waves, dude. Oh god, it's such a fun team to watch.
Hold on.
And then the pitching staff's great too. I mean, my god, 4 elite starters and a bullpen that just kind of, again, will just pound you.
So I don't even know. I mean, offensively, they've got according to my tracking of it, you got 7 batters in that lineup this year that were in the top 30% of the league offensively. That will work. Yeah. And then pitching wise, it wasn't quite as dominant, but the consistency, man. I mean, there was essentially never did they bring out somebody who was just uncompetitive, which is unbelievable. Let me just pull it real quick. I'll see if I can run numbers on this, but they had 12, 16, 17 and a third innings tossed by guys who ended with an ERA of 6 or worse, which is pretty insane. I can run this one because I'm working on a mind-boggling one here. I mean, 92% of their innings were thrown by guys with ERAs under 5. So that's fun.
It's like, it's just crazy to me that there's never really an uncompetitive inning.
Yeah. Here's one. 83% of their innings were thrown by guys with ERAs under 4. Okay, cool.
Like, even when you look at the bullpen,
how do they keep running it back? Well, I have some suspicions.
Matskello dominant in the closer position.
Mm-hmm. And that's not even the fact that they also had the second best offense in the league.
Oh, yeah. Like Kogashi, again, like a elite part of a combined no-hitter this year, too. Franklin Parra, great.
Sandberg, Sandberg was my pitcher of the year this year. He split time between the bullpen and the rotation. He's my number one pitcher in both a bullpen and a rotation for the league. Bradwell was great. James Bradwell. Kogashi, Turbaki, Chu, then Muscatiello, Gollert, Saldana, Para.
Just read the whole roster.
That's Chu. 9 pitchers who I have in the top 30% of pitchers this year. So 9 pitchers in the top third of the league. Tough one. And by the way, then it's like, oh no, and that's by the way why you will see Quebec drop a game 1 and then just come back and make your life terrible. It's because, you used all of your bullets in game 1 to beat us to shut down our offense. Crazy. We still have just an entire pitching staff full of guys who are filthy. Like, what a headache.
See, that's why Washington gave them a little bit of hell, because Washington has some depth. I think you got to go blow for blow. Problem is, it's still Quebec. And the thing is, like, they're that good, and they got fight in them. That's the thing. Like, they just don't go away. Like, ask Ottawa how many times they were like, we got this. It's done. And it's like, no. They just drag you down to the sore and beat you to death.
Did someone say Thunderdome time? Like,
really?
Just a ballpark full of people yelling at you in French. Just a terrible experience.
I mean, it is an intimidating environment, though. That's half the battle, too. Like, you walk in,
I don't even know what they're yelling at me.
They can curse you out in English and French. It's amazing. But, like, you go in there and you're just like, this place is rocking. It's electric. It's loud. They're playing, like, French EDM. I don't know what's going on. Their hot dogs have some sort of fleur-de-lis on them. There's no, I'm out of my element.
Yeah.
And they're just every which way. Oh God,
yeah.
such experience.
I mean, and we just talked about the pitching really, but Justin Gideon, great year. Kyle Crow, Jesmo Valentin, Guillermo Garcia, Mark Antoine Lebreu, Jonathan LaCroix. Yeah, in the mid lineup, they hit you the hockey team, brutal. Tommy Seidel, great year.
Yeah, Seidel, that's the thing. Like Seidel kind of you'll surprise a little bit because like you look at the slash and you're like, like it's a good slash, but nothing great. And then you realize, oh no, wait. Every time he gets on base, he steals it back.
Yeah, I know. He's just making singles into doubles.
Yeah,
painful.
It's like it's a home run or it's a base hit double.
Right.
McKenzie's doing the same thing at 46 too. Like between the two of them, they got 100 stolen bases. Lifestyle. You have over half the teams that wipes just.
I know. There. It's like I know you're trying to focus on Mark Antoine Lebreu, who also is a problem. Also, is an 808 OPS. But I'm just going to take a second. Bye. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Cool. Life is now.
Jonathan LaCroix there too. Jack just like, McKenzie. Yeah. By the way, I'm just going to get on base real quick. Don't you worry, none.
Jack McKenzie was even good. And, you know, I don't like his numbers for a third baseman, But for a 9-hitter, like, yeah, sure.
Like that's the
Leading
thing.
off with your catcher is psychotic behavior, by the way. Don't think I missed that. What you're doing there with Ruben Castro is silly.
But it works.
Playoff lineup was so funny. They're like, we'll just do this. Like, oh, all right.
And that's the thing too. Like when you have that kind of depth, you're able to just mix and match and just do crazy shit.
And like they're a well-connected organization. Like they just pulled David Gloat out. Like, oh, all right, we're doing that.
I mean, he's been there for a minute though, so.
Yeah, I know, but like he didn't play the full year. I forget what it looked like. I don't remember what the deal was there, but I remember he's there at the end, and they're like, "Oh, David Gloat's back." I was like, oh, "All right."
Hey, it's his birthday today, November 14th. He's 30 years old on the dot.
Huh. Yeah, he didn't play. He played. Sorry, hold on. I got him playing one game in May. I don't know if that's right. Interesting if it is. And then playing August 2nd on.
Sounds like he got hurt.
I don't know. I mean, playing one game in May sounds like, I mean, maybe he was hurt. I'm trying to remember what his game log was last season.
Alfredo Marte got hurt and the dugout looked on in horror.
Very important. Cannot believe that happened.
But don't worry, it got like 2,300 impressions, so that means it was a good tweet.
Good thing. I wonder how many of them came from your reply. Anyway.
Only about 1,400, nothing.
And then they also pulled let's not say like they pulled Ruben Castro out of the woodwork on August 15th. They're like, hey, quick playoff round. He was like, quick playoff round. Gross. What are you doing?
Don't forget, they started with Jamari Profar, too.
Terrorism. Yeah, he played 80 games last year, 27 this year. Don't know if he got hurt. I don't know.
Yes, Quebec, as opposed to, as you may notice, as opposed to every other team, we didn't mention much about this is their core. They have a future. We know this already. All of you know. Quebec's inevitable.
It's all on some Excel sheet somewhere.
But
you know, they're inevitable.
They made a deal. They made a deal with the devil, and they will continue to win. You know the deal. One bad season a decade, and then it's followed by 4 championships and 7 final berths. We go from probably the best ran team in Indy ball to among arguably some of the worst in Sussex County, 33 and 63, 8th in the East, 16th in the league.
Were they good? No. But did they show improvement?
No.
But did they try real hard? Honestly, I don't know.
Dubious at best.
Not sure either. Question mark.
Yeah, there's some questionable upper management appears. The roster was not particularly strong. So you do that to your boys, but that's the case here. And
worse offense than Windy City. Good Lord.
Dubious attendance numbers as well. I mean, Orgiano is like, is him. And Corey Acton. And
Shout testing still. Honestly. 28 relief appearances at 2.19 ERA. Hell yeah, man.
I mean, Gavin Stupinski at 30 looked good.
Yeah.
Gabriel Marcel.
Robbie hit. Billy Parsons had a good year.
Yeah.
Billy Parsons still was 24.
Oh, you're still looking at pitching. I'm looking at batting.
Dude, I can't even start with the hitting. I don't know what to tell you. Rajano, I'm fascinated by him. I think he could be something. 25, but he seems to, I don't know. I feel like he's improving. Let me back check that statistically.
He got hurt last year, I believe.
Yeah, he did take a step backward. No, he played 95.
Someone got hurt.
He did take a step backwards though. But I mean, who didn't? Also, in this lineup with no one to protect you, I could see taking a step backward.
Yeah, 5 more games too, so that counts for some drop off. Because he only had 1 fewer hit, but he had more. He just had more plate appearances, more bats.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Corey Acton's my main silver lining with an Orejano shout out. Stupienski had moments. Honestly, offensively, the thing is that there was no stars. The bottom 3 in the lineup basically sucked every night. Stupienski, Sayre, Maciel, D'Amato and Giordano are honestly all above average in my book offensively, but that's just not going to get done combined with the rest of the lineup, you know?
Amato's probably one of the few guys you actually want to keep and build around at 22. Anu and Acton too. Keep me that 3-0, maybe Maisel and
Anu had 13 home runs on a team that only had 54 home runs.
That's give me those 4 and let's burn the rest of this.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel kind of bad because Evan Giordano had moments, but like I need more than moments. Kyle Richards also had moments, but I also think he retired from the sport, so we lost a Cougar. But oh well. Pitching wise, are we salvaging any of this?
Willie Escala was interesting, by the way. I mean, had a rough year in 2022, first pro season.
Yeah.
2023 hit real well with Sussex.
Got that confidence boost in the World Baseball Classic.
Right? And then 2024, he was, awful. Awful in 35 games with Sussex. Hit 178, 271, 280, and then went to Milwaukee and slashed 301, 360, 466 for the Milkman. Don't know what to do with that. Maybe Sussex just kind of toxic.
Who knows?
He was a big vibes guy.
He was not a big Christopher Columbus guy, so just didn't work out there.
What? Kudos to him going from Miami, Florida, where he also played college ball, to Anchorage, Alaska for a summer ball season. What a vibe back in 2018.
Kind of fire vibe.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing much outside that. And even on the pitching side, like Parsons, Lunicky, Hit, and Stool are maybe Bobby Curry too, yeah. Everybody else, I'm like Monclair, I kind of like, but at 27, he ain't going to be the guy that you need. Neuweiler, maybe, but I doubt it. Everybody else is either too old or didn't show enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Yeah, Killen Brothers is kind of intriguing at 24, but not intriguing enough to keep around with a 1.5 whip. Ew.
Yeah.
Didn't walk a lot of guys, but you getting freaking hit. Gross. Everything's hit.
Not gonna play. I hate to say I don't have much to say on this one. I mean, we've talked about how bad this team is.
Exactly, and I don't think people want to hear too much off-field garbage.
Disgusting. Yeah. Even. I
think our thoughts on some of these teams are pretty well known.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but it's like if I don't. This isn't to the team. This isn't to the manager and players, but it's like. It's more organizationally. If I don't feel like you're trying, it's hard to generate a ton of effort. I mean, I'll shout out the players who should be shouted out because they deserve their moment and they deserve to be discussed. But like, it's hard to really delve too deep into a team that feels like they're not delving too deep into themselves.
Definitely. Tri-City and then Three Rivers. That's what we have left here. So let's get through this. I mean, this point is going to be like a 2.5, 3 hour long show just because 16 teams.
Little treat for the sickos, baby.
Yeah, well, I think I wanted to do this early because I knew it'd be a long record, a long edit.
3 a.m. Be great.
I know, only like an hour later when I thought we'd be done it.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it goes both ways on this. We both kind of talked a long time. In any case, let's stop wasting time and get to it. Oscar Campos again, solid. Ryan Cash.
Yeah.
Not too bad coming over from Pioneer. Hallmark was solid. Looking elsewhere, I'm trying to see guys that like you want to keep. Kyle Novak.
Robbie Merced played well in limited run. Kyle Novak, yeah. Kyle Novak hitting 329. Okay.
Yeah, I should mention, by the way, Tri-City 50.
Whiskey Jacks. Sick.
Yeah. Tri-City 53 and 41, second in the East, fourth in the league. This definitely seems like a group effort. They feel like they're in a decent place. Maybe not good, maybe not great, but like decent enough. And I will say it does feel like Greg Taggart kind of proved us wrong.
For now.
Yeah. Like
that's a 2-season. That's a 2-season waiting period.
So he comes back?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I will say he may transfer better with younger guys. That kind of like, I don't want to say they have less options, but like they got less options.
True. Um,
But yeah, like Austin Dill.
Huge breakout season. I mean, it was only in 8 starts, but like I really like Dan Beebe and what I saw from him.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta check his game log.
Yeah, Zeke Wood out of the bullpen, really solid work here. Easton Klein also a nice little season too.
Oh yeah, good call.
Yeah. Let's see who else we got here.
I see kind of a lack of stars, but they kind of did it with consistency.
Yeah, Arlo did solid too. It's more of a swingman. Looks like
okay, no, I'm gonna back up. That's not fair. They did it with consistency, but they had those inconsistent stretches. My theory on that was they weren't very explosive offensively, and their pitching staff wasn't really going to dominate. So if they just ran to a stretch where there was a team who had it working, they could just kind of get bodied a few games in a row. Because remember, they were going like a 6-game losing streak, a 6-game win streak, and they had like kind of a weird streakiness. And like multiple times, we're like, oh, they're dead. And then they were right back at it. We're like, oh, all right, never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, that feels just about right here. I don't really know what to gauge here though, because like I'm looking batting wise, and like most of the performers are at that upper end of like, okay, are you young or are you not young? Like Novak and Broderick are exceptions there, but everybody else is like more 26, 27. So like, yeah, you can definitely get another year or two out of them, but like, there's no real consistency here. Like, they're a team that should be just about entering their prime, if not in their prime, but I also don't feel like they're playing like a team in their prime.
True. I don't know.
It's also a stupidly high amount of people that do not have their birthday in Baseball Reference here. There's like 5 of them on this team.
Yeah, it's weird. Oh, I was going to say, they also have a sort of odd concentration of guys like Austin Dill, who's kind of confusing. Where like his numbers were really unimpressive in the Pioneer League. And I get the run environments that there is different, but like still to go from a 6.8 there to a 2.8 ERA in the Frontier, it's confusing.
4-run drop. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what you expect. So there's also a lot of like, is this what we expect? I mean, Arlo Marinchak, he had a almost 6 ERA at Siena in 2023, showed up to Tri-City and dropped a sub-4, almost like 3.7 ERA in Tri-City in a full season, including 10 starts. I don't know what to do with that. Like, I don't know if that is a consistent thing. Is that just who they are? Or is this, this was a good year, then so there's going to be a fall off. And that's kind of what I'm sure they're also wondering over at Tri-City.
Mm-hmm. I don't really know what to make of it.
Here's another one, Zeke Wood. It's just talking pitching too on all these. Almost a 5 ERA at Texas State in 2023. Comes in sub-2 ERA in 22 outings for Tri-City. Could be because maybe he's just better out of the bullpen. Makes sense, but there you go. What are we? Projections are going to be a mess for this team.
Maybe these boys just need a little bit more cardio in their lives.
Maybe they had to run some more pulls. How about it?
And now that they ran polls, got some sprints in, now they are ready to play and pitch.
I mean, NAIA is better than a lot of people think, but like back to Easton Klein, another pitcher. He came from Point Park NAIA straight to Tri-City and had a good year, sub-4 ERA. I don't know what to do with that.
You catching guys that already warmed their arm up. That's what's happening.
Alfredo Ruiz, he didn't have that great of a year though, but still.
Let's get into this last team. Let's get to Trotter VA.
Yeah, where we started this, really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 44 and 51, 5th in the East, 9th, tied for 9th in the league. Started off strong, but they faded. I do wonder if that's because of the roster or if that's because of the competition. They always feel uncertain with their future there. And we mentioned a little bit about 2 hours ago now about how they're constructed and how the manager situation is. I really don't know what to make of it. They're an older roster with a new guy coming in, so I expect turnover. There's not too many guys here I really like to keep. Willie Estrada looks solid, but he's 29. Brandon Datson looked good.
Yeah.
But he's 27. Ralph Gladue, again, looked good, but he's 29.
29. No, that's a good point.
Bobby Peltier,
LTA 28.
28. Dalton Combs, 29.
29. Hold on. Wait, you picked up that trend quicker than I did. Willie Estrada, 29. Smybert, 28.
Roscoe, 29.
Hernandez is 22. He's the first one I'd find that was like offensively.
Yeah.
What about pitching?
He didn't get into many games. He didn't get that many.
26. That's not bad. Terrian's 31. Mac is 26. That's not bad too.
Like, that's the thing here. Like,
Huh.
people sometimes have an issue with me saying, like, oh, they don't have that much star power. And then they look at the roster and, like, oh, well, look, you have a guy hitting 340, 337. Another guy hit, like 10 home runs. It's like, yeah. But they're, like, Atlantic League aged doing this against, like, guys that are 4 or 5 years younger. Like, I expect those kinds of results. And, like, I'm not going to say that it's easier to hit in Three Rivers here. I think you have the park factor, if that's true or not. But it always feels like there's a lot of high average guys here.
Yeah, it's batter friendly to like a tune of a 107 with 100 being balanced.
Okay.
So, yeah, 7% above average toward the hitter.
That seems pretty notable.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the second highest in the league.
Exactly. And like it works against you pitching wise here, which again is still an older pitching staff. I mean, Tucker Smith's probably your best pitcher here. Threw a lot of innings and he kept it under 3.5. So a solid year, no matter how you want to judge it here, but like none of your other starters really stepped up. Alex Mack was good for his 17 innings here, but he didn't really stick around. And Naito being like the only other guy that you're really looking and go, yeah, that's something here. But even the guys I all mentioned are all 26. Like, look at the younger guys. Like,
no, I agree.
Yeah, like that's my problem here. Like, that's why I have a hard time getting excited.
Do a rebuild off of what was not even like a.
Yeah, like it's a failed to start rebuild. This is like a Buffalo Sabres type situation where, like, yeah, there's some guys. Yeah, there's a couple of years where you're like, oh, this is it. And then Lucy pulls the football up on you. Like I don't hate the roster, but like the way the batting is, it tricks you. And you got to find a way to manage it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much else to add on that. It's just sort of, yeah, they're kind of stuck here. And they're about to try to do a rebuild with somebody who I just don't think is the guy unless they're making a big Puerto Rico push right now. I
just don't see that being the way you want to go with. Like, I know you're going to have to deal with visas one way or the other, right? So it doesn't matter if you got to technically, I don't think we really need a visa because Puerto Rico too. Well, I mean, if you're from Puerto Rico or you're from Maine, you're going to need a visa either way. But I don't know about that. And like, my big problem here too is like when your main thing is like Empire League and travel team. That's basically Empire League All-Stars. Like, yeah, they'll be younger, but they're not going to be good. And like, at least with this lineup, like they're older guys. Don't get me wrong, but like at least they performed. At least batting wise, pitching wise. I mean, it's evident. And like the thing that gets me is like hitter friendly ballpark or not, that doesn't account for over 350 walks. Doesn't account for like a whip that's 1.45. Like those are high numbers regardless of ballpark. There's a lot of like self-inflicted wounds here, and the strikeout numbers aren't even that great. I mean, like, plus what, they got 60 unearned runs too. That's a killer. I don't know how it compares to the rest of the league, so maybe I'm being overly harsh on it, but it's a team that I want to be excited for, but I have a very hard time being excited for.
Yeah, I mean, I've expressed my mindset on. I think they're a high potential team, but not this year. Like I think they're a high potential organization that is just not ever going to live up to it. Essentially, that's what I mean to say. I think this is just another iteration of that happening. Unfortunately, bums me out. As I've said, it's an organization I really enjoy and think I would love to see good things for them, but I just don't. yeah, I mean, what is there here to believe in necessarily? I mean, I like that they came out and they're like, we want to win ball games. Like the lack of results isn't acceptable to us, but like also like, cool. Now what? Like, so what are you going to do about it? You said that and then you sucked this year. I mean, like, yeah, you were good for a while and then the wheels fell off and now you're a different manager.
That's the thing. Like, it feels very hollow. Like, I appreciate them coming out and saying it and trying to fix it. I always appreciate that. But like, at a certain point, it's like, well, the tires aren't the problem, right? Like, you can change tires as much as you want. The car is the problem.
Backtracking to a random thing. Tour VA, fourth highest percentage of runs allowed that were unearned runs. Yeah. 88% of the runs that they allowed were earned. So about 12% were unearned. And then, I mean, that's not far. I mean, most of the league is between 85 and 89% on that, with like the real exception being Evansville at 79%. So Evansville allowed a lot of unearned runs, is my point. Kind of crazy. 1 every 5 runs they allowed was unearned.
It's not going to help you win.
Not great. Not a culture builder.
But that does feel like the perfect place to end it, being that we came full circle. So that's the review for the Frontier League. We went about an hour or so longer than I expected to. That's fun.
My bad.
Yeah, it's both our faults.
Don't worry, let's add 2 more teams to this league.
Yeah, really. That's the solution to the problem. Yes, that's the Frontier League review. That's probably going to wind up being about 2.5 hour long show. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Throw your plugs out there before we collapse and die.
Yeah, Indie Ball Nation on a bunch of stuff. I should be posting my Frontier League awards in the next day or so. Maybe already be posted actually by the time you're hearing this. And then this coming week, I'll be posting my what will be a 2-part, a little true crime thing, which is completely different, but we've talked about in the past, so I won't go into it now. But keep an eye out for that, or don't, depending on what you're vibing.
Cool. Indie Ball Pod on Twitter, Indie Ball Report everywhere else. I need to get busy doing stuff, but I'm busy, so like we're gonna get it out. It's just a matter of when, not if, but when. So that's what we got to look forward to. I am gassed, and so we are going to wrap it up here. We'll have another review for you next week, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more of an exciting week. So until next time, don't forget to play ball.